Scavengers Reign is an adult sci-fi horror show I've been waiting on for years now. Following the escape of a damaged freighter ship, survivors of the Demeter 227 are dropped onto an alien world without preparation or full understanding of the troubled severity they'll encounter. The series is based on the short Scavengers, which came out in 2016 by the same creators. The short covered the same principles, survivors adapting to an alien world so unlike Earth. And even with 8 minutes to spare, the short does a tremendous job showcasing the charm of an inhospitable planet. It's a harsh and unforgiving world that feels so fictitious in its constant implausible qualities. Everything seems impossible, an ecosystem more advanced than what humans have witnessed prior. And yet, its wonder and intricacies are so engrossing that there's this desire and need for it to be explored. As told by the creators, the short was very much a springboard that cultivated the tonal conflicts of the world, its ecosystem, and the visuals it presented, that worked as a head start before progressing towards a full-length show. And in Scavengers Reign, characters and their story arcs are incorporated into Planet Vesta's darkest secrets, as the show doesn't tiptoe around the gruesome complexities the cast faces. It starts with a somewhat tranquil introduction that quickly blossoms into the narrative equivalent of a Venus flytrap. The split narrative is what divides the severity of human responses and survival instincts when tossed to the unknown. Cayman, a man trapped both mentally and figuratively in an escape pod, a punishment of his obsessive ego. Sam and Ursula, two polarizing personalities that regard unresearched science in drastically different ways. Sam proceeding with extreme caution, whilst Ursula is magnified by the abnormality of the extraterrestrial life. Leaving Ozzy and Levi, a companionship that developed organically as Ozzy watches a robot slowly become accustomed to the delicacies of becoming sentient. And with the vastness of the planet and its indigenous inhabitants, each group of the cast goes through troubles of varying degrees, allowing for a tense and release structure that balances the tone of the show. One group may be knocking on death's door, whilst another is absorbing the hidden beauties the planet also offers. There's an attempt to live in harmony with the planet, to understand it, observe it, but as humans always do, there feels a need to control it too. And the differing egotistical ways of which humans seek out the impossible is always so fascinating to watch. Some are transfixed by the unfathomable and transcendent findings, whilst others' anticipatory fear clears that distance between themselves and the unfamiliar. Interstellar's influence is very striking for this reason, much like Nolan's characters, that indescribable nature in researching the incomprehensible, the unstoppable urge to satisfy one's curiosity when witnessing a phenomena, is addictive. But that inquisitive nature can be shadowed by a deadly cost, for there's always an ever-present threat to behold in all environments. Predators lurking among the shadows, or perhaps more terrifyingly, in plain sight. Because as the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. Scavengers Reign manages to balance the fine line of dread and wonder, a concoction of both cosmic and eco-horror that beckons humanity's curiosity, an interest that oftentimes leads to consequences of speculative biology theories. Few things on planet Vesta are comparable to humanity's understandings and assumptions of life, gathered only from Earth and a handful of other planets. Because most of what we know as viewers has reasoning, our respiratory system, the scientific laws of gravity, the properties of time, and yet, these survivors are taking on new territory that reveals its way of life so unlike our own, so dissimilar to our rules, and yet still feels uncomfortably familiar. To navigate and learn of new species and forces beyond our comprehension is what allows for such creative scenes and innovative practices, using creatures as parachutes or gas masks, or a perfect shelter cover from emotional turmoil. The writing team of Scavengers Reign dig deep into the raw emotions incited by scenarios of fight or flight. With a cast marooned on an unknown planet, we're able to feel different connections to each group's inner conflict, which demonstrates the complexities of mankind. To see the selfishness of humanity, its bitter ego and preservational instincts tethered to its beauty, love, and instinctual bond. Humanity's emotions are laid bare to an intense and debilitating degree, because searching for answers of the unknown is far more interesting than the known, and whether that damning interest is our downfall or salvation is something Scavengers Reign leaves audiences to ponder. But the writing is only one imaginative aspect of Scavengers Reign, for its breathtaking visuals are something that sets it apart from anything I've watched before. From the lighting, compositing, boarding and colourwork, it's such a unique trip to experience. The lighting and colourwork in particular set the tone of melancholic unease for the majority, and then will slap you with the most beautiful, psychedelic scenes that show the beauty in a world untouched by humanity. It shows a land where nature takes reign of its shape, an ecosystem so connected to everything it touches that the human hand feels more foreign and disconnected. The planet's disturbance caused by the Demeter crew is shown so minutely at times, yet so perfectly. Like the official lighting from the emergency pods igniting a glow so displaced in its forest surroundings, contrasting the natural bioluminescence of plant life and creatures. Ozzy's motorcycle coloured in metallic greys with yellow accents, so obtrusive towards the natural colours of rocks and nature. And I love the organic feel of the show, often shown through beautiful wide-angled shots that demonstrate a sense of scale, showing the vastness of each setting and the layers of environmental storytelling from a single frame. The influences of Satoshi Kon, Hayao Miyazaki, Katsuhiro Otomo and Mobius are pretty obvious. But why wouldn't Scavengers Reign be inspired by high-caliber visionaries? Its setting and premise counters the normality of which we're accustomed to, and each creator mentioned perfects that visual craft. Applying scale, animation sequences that leave you aghast, and the fine line between fake and reality, or perhaps the confusion of both, so interlinking. And that's because the elements of animation, from its framing, blocking and composition, is breathtaking. Yet my favourite aspect of the animation is the posing. Every part of the show feels organic, quite literally at times, but it's the ways in which characters interact with foreign objects and environments that feel so natural. Joe Bennett, one of the co-creators, reaffirms this purposeful decision in an interview.
It was like blocking and staging, but also poses. And I was like, I really want to do naturalistic poses. Mm-hmm. A big don't is the sort of like Spider-Man landing pose. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not doing that. Yeah. Another one that's like a very kind of common sort of like Justice League style thing. Yeah. Don't. Just the way that you're even sitting right now, it's like there's a naturalism to it that I think is the thing to embrace.
And it was the right call, because there were plenty of moments where the natural posing made each character feel so alive and real. From the ways people sit, to the ungraceful slips and tumbles, to the spit appearing on a window from a desperate calling. They're minute actions, but a standout in making the world feel tangible. Something you can actually believe exists, which is not an easy feat to accomplish. And a bunch of that is reliant on the detailing revealed throughout each background shot, each prop design, or even the non-diegetic sounds that persuade you of its existence. But besides the gorgeous animation and visuals, the writing, soundtrack and voiceover work are bar none. The attentiveness in making Planet Vesta and its new inhabitants feel so real and plausible is a privilege to watch. There's a freedom in the depths of adult-orientated content where storylines and visuals can be further explored and stressed in a methodical fashion, often limited in children animation, where mere hints of such can be censored. This restriction has slackened over the years, as more adult animation besides raunchy comedy is steering towards mainstream audiences. With shows like Arcane, Invincible, Pantheon, The Legend of Vox Machina, or my personally highly anticipated animated series Witches, many more tales are opposing the attitude that animation is strictly for children, as Scavengers Reign proves the exact opposite. It presents a deeper conversation towards the abnormality of the unknown. It questions our small insignificance in a universe so boundless and infinite, but never once disregards humanity's qualities, whether good or bad. With that said, this series has been cancelled by Max, but it has since been picked up by Netflix, where the potential for more seasons is decided upon the debut's performance on the streamer, starting May 31st. If more adult animation is something you hope to see and wish to support, now is the time to prove it. As the stories told on planet Vesta are hauntingly addictive, for the constant whispers of death, the embrace of rebirth and the struggles of survival are simple realities in the world of Scavengers Reign that deserve to be explored further. Hey guys, thanks for watching to the end of the video. As always, I've wanted to do a video on Scavengers Reign ever since I saw the show back last year, but I just never managed to get around to it, and given that the last few videos have all been manga related recently, I figured why not do something else for a change, and I haven't covered a Western animation in a while, and Scavengers Reign just seemed like the perfect fit. So if you haven't watched it already, it will be coming out on Netflix, not this Friday, but the Friday after, so if you haven't watched it yet, or you weren't able to watch it, at least legally, then I could not recommend this show enough, and I am absolutely begging for a season 2, so please do watch so there's a higher chance of a season 2, because I really need it. Once again, I just want to thank everyone who's been supporting me over on Patreon or over on Ko-fi. I really appreciate any help that you give the channel, and it shouldn't take me too long to get the next video out. It's either going to be my Q&A video or a different video. I'm not quite sure which I want to work on first, just because the Q&A video is going to be a beast to edit. It's going to be hours long, so not really looking forward to that, but it's got to be done. So I'll see you guys with the next video. Not sure what it's going to be, but yeah.